On today's starting nine, Jake and Carl are joined by White Sox all-star closer and Australian sensation Liam Hendriks to talk about his rise, both figuratively and literally, on the four-seam fastball, what it's like playing for Tony La Russa, second-half predictions, and his general comfort level with the ocean. We also get a number of headlines, a couple of segments, and a ton of great vibes, so let's just get into it and have a great show, boys. Action! Welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here in Chicago, Colin Cooper in New York. Jake, off the top, if you're watching this on YouTube, everybody sees just a great hat, just a phenomenal hat representing 1776. Is that an American hat, or is that like a Phillies hat? What is that?
Well, so I had some buddies that bought some of these hats like before the 4th of July, and they didn't fill me in like, hey, you need to have one of these, or at least they didn't pick me one up, which usually that's the thing I do. If I just see something that I know the boys need, I pick up an extra box. I'm going to buy 10 hats, and whoever needs one needs one. So I got it late, but who doesn't like to support this great country and the 1776? It's just a beautiful patch too. It's kind of it's actually like a rubber patch, so and it fits my head well.
Do you have a good head for hats, or do you have a bad head?
No, I have a nice shaped head. Both of them are pretty good shape. I like it. I like them both, right. And this is good. And if you're gonna be bald, it helps to have a good shaped head. You have a pretty good shaped head too. So yeah, I have a good hat head. Good hat head.
My head is. I got some Polish genes in me, and so I think once you get out to that block of the eastern continent, like that's where the back of the head starts to flatten out a little bit. So I do have some of that like Slovakian.
The flathead thing? Was that because your parents just didn't hold you enough as a kid? They just kind of left you there?
The stories of me as a young boy, you would definitely lock me in a closet and leave for 6 hours. I wouldn't blame anybody for doing that to me. I also have a dent, and my mom took me to a doctor to see a specialist when I was a baby, allegedly. But I had asked her as a young man, I said, hey, is this normal, this thing back here? She's like, no. We tried to get that figured out when you were like 1 year old. Nobody could diagnose it, so we just rolled with it. So I think that's why I messed up.
Yeah, it didn't turn into a problem, though. So, and fortunately with what we do, you don't really have to showcase the back of your dome.
No.
So we're doing fine. I'll just say I'm excited to be back with you guys. From the All-Star game, flew home quick, jumped on another plane out to Seaside, Florida. We were there until 45 minutes ago. So and here we are. We're back doing this. And no, I didn't. You mentioned it, but I didn't play golf down there. We had a tee time a couple of days ago, set for 10:50, and it's so nice down there. We just laid in bed an extra hour, and the kids were all asleep, and we got up late and had coffee and then walked to the beach. So it turned into a nice beach day instead of golf. And look, I still haven't played in 2 months or more. It's going on 3. I know it's weird because when I first got home from the season, like I was playing probably 4 days a week, and my game wasn't getting any better. But then I just got into a period of time with the kids where we're just always hanging out. We're working out together. They got into the water sports, which I'm very, very happy with, and I just haven't played much. Our course was closed down for about 2 weeks, but I was talking to Lack. I'm like, man, I gotta play some golf. But the heat, though, like you got 90-ish up there, 80s, mid 80s. Man, I'm telling you, it was 114 degrees while we were in LA for the All-Star game, and so no one wants to play golf in that. I mean, unless you're the first tee time, and then you're able to finish by noon, then it's okay. It's kind of like Arizona golf in the middle of summer. If you're bold enough to go out and play golf in Scottsdale, like you're probably teeing off at 6:50 to 7:10, and then you're good. But man, if you try and tee off at 11 o'clock in Phoenix or even here right now, you're screwed.
Yeah, no, that's not conducive, because then you're out and then it sucks all the life out of you. Then you're just drained all day. It might even be a 3-hour round, but like you need 3 hours.
Well, you're drinking, you're drinking beers and
a couple.
You're sweating. You might mix in a water, maybe not, and then you're asleep at 4 o'clock and you wake up with a cramp in both calves probably, or maybe an adductor, which I've had before, and it just kind of it ruins your day. But I mean, that it's one more reason to maybe just throw an electrolyte tab just in your mouth with no water and just slug it down.
Speaking
Maybe
of
some salt.
electrolytes and we'll just say rejuvenation, I got some good news for our audience that should lift up some spirits. Maybe there's some people out there right now. It's we record this. It's late Monday, coming out Tuesday early morning. Slow start to the week. I got great news for anybody and everybody that's involved with Starting Nine. And I want to take a second to call it out. It's the bombs away prop. We talked a little bit about it not too long ago. Dude, this thing's 7-8 on the season, up 5.1 units. If you're throwing $100 around, you're up $500.
Yeah, you got a shot to make some real money there.
And we're just getting the flow of things. We're like, we really like the Dodgers in this. We really like the Yankees in this. So we're going to have another one for tonight as this comes out. And if you guys aren't on the bombs way, it's hard because I know there's so many props coming out and stuff with we do at Barstool. And, like this is the flagship Starting Nine prop and promotion that we have for you guys. If you're following us here in a state where betting's legal, obviously gamble responsibly, but we've got this great prop, and like I said, it's plus 5.1 units on the year, 7-8. If we can keep it, yeah, it's just great, dude.
Yeah, there's seems like pretty smart money. I mean, if you're into gambling, which who's not? I mean,
and you're a smart money guy.
It smells like free money. Yes and no. I mean, we've been scouring the internet for. I'm a part of a bunch of auctions right now on some Julio Rodriguez cards, and these are all majority of these are all for the collection. But I told Cooper, and we've mentioned it before. We talked about it at the All-Star game. Like, if you want to continue to buy cards like this, we have to like turn it into at least a little bit of like buy, sell, trade. Because the shit gets expensive, like real expensive. If you're trying to get some of these real nice cards, like let me see where this auction is. I got an auction that's going right now, and it is for a 1/1, which I'm currently winning.
We like 1/1.
It's a 1/1. It's a 2019 Leaf Metal Gold Superfractor 1/1 Julio Rodriguez. I mean, it's not going to be cheap. It's an ungraded card, which I kind of like, but you're taking a risk. If it's ungraded, it could be a 7, it could be a 10. You never know, and that could be thousands of dollars. So I'm kind of jumping in with both feet, not even doing some homework, but just kind of money's just flying out of my wallet right now.
What would someone say to you if, like, a year ago they come up to you and they go, hey, just a year ago, hey, I got a 2019 Super Refractor 1/1 Metal Leaf Special Edition Julio Rodriguez ungraded? Like, would that pique your interest? Or
I wouldn't have known anything about it. I would have gone straight to like Jake Marisnick or Rizzo or Chris Bryant and said, hey, tell me, is this good? Is this a good thing? But yeah, like you just said, anything 1/1 sounds nice. It's better than most of these things are like mass produced, so you're not necessarily sure of the value. But when there's a 1/1 on it, you can pretty much guarantee there's going to be some value there. And let's face it, like Julio Rodriguez he already is a great player, and barring any injury, if he stays healthy, this kid's he's going to be a superstar. There's no doubt in my mind.
And just to tie these two together, you're out there, you're listening, you're thinking to yourself, like, man, I want to break some packs. I want to get in with the boys because I have a call this week. I'm doing some preliminary investigative stuff for us to figure out what our opportunities are to break packs and do more content on that stuff.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
God, it's just a blast, man. It's just a blast. And like I told you, I didn't think I would ever get into this. I wouldn't think I'd ever enjoy it. But to see Cooper really like it and his buddies really like it, man, it's fun. It's fun. It can get expensive, but we're having fun with it. We'll probably go to a car shop tomorrow. I know you're thinking, how you've been to a car shop every day in the last month. Colin and Carl were there, a part of that, and I thank you for letting me drag you to those places, because I know it's not always the most enjoyable if you're not into it. But you pulled a Mike Trout signed patch. I don't even know if it was numbered, but that's probably $1,000 card for you.
Yeah, I was patrolling eBay. I'm setting up my collection at home now. I got to order the binder and the
You gotta have
the
it all.
plastics and
It's
but yeah, I mean,
nostalgic,
like,
isn't it? And like, I don't think that I had any like really valuable cards as a kid, but you know, you get like the cardboard boxes and you're stacking them up and you're collecting your favorite players. And I was, you know, buying $1, $2 packs probably at the time. And now it's kind of next level. And like, you know, I told you you were there. I was buying these packs were what, $1,200 a piece.
yeah,
And then the one, how about the one? We took a video in the car. It was a like 2021 Topps Dynasty, which comes with just one card in it. We're excited as hell to open this thing. We pull open the top. We pull the card out, and it's a fucking redemption card. So you have to redeem it. You put in the
we talked to
code.
Michael Rubin about that on the red carpet.
Yeah,
He was like explaining
and
how
it
these
makes
redemption
sense,
cards
and it
suck.
makes sense. And I'm guilty of this too. So like players will sign a deal with say Panini or Topps or whatever the company is, Upper Deck, and sometimes we're not as timely to get these cards back to the company. And so at the time that the cards were boxed, they weren't able to slide that card in. So I gotta be. I'm a little frustrated with Jacob deGrom and Buster Posey for not getting those cards in the box quick enough. But somebody's been frustrated with me about it too. I don't know if anybody's ever gotten a redemption card of mine, and I don't even know if there's a ton of value in my redemption cards. But if you have, I apologize for that. And if I ever do a card deal again, I'll make sure I sign them as quick as I can, get them back to the company, so you don't have to deal with this shit like I am.
Excellent. You've walked a mile in the shoes. You're ready to make some adjustments. This breaking pack thing, stay tuned. If you guys are into this too, obviously don't be bashful. Send us some shit. There's more on the packs coming. You bring up money. You bring up spending a lot of money. I think it's fair to transition probably the biggest story of the season.
It's a great
This is
story.
going to be the biggest story of the season. It's going to be when Juan Soto gets traded, and it sounds like he's going to get traded.
Yeah, and you have to get rid of him. I mean, if you can't sign him, you know how it is. You can't allow the guy to walk without getting anything in return. I mean, it seems to happen every year, or just about every year. I don't know all the ins and outs. Obviously, Scott is my agent. We heard, you know, the Nats wouldn't charter him a plane to LA for the All-Star game. He flies commercial. He gets in at 1 a.m., ends up winning the Home Run Derby. And what bothers me about these kinds of situations is that the player always gets the heat and gets shit for not accepting a deal. And yes, we know it's $440 million. Get over it. It's a lot of money. These guys make a ton of money. This, you know, and his numbers now, I don't know, he's in 250, 260. So it's not like all that sexy of a season for him. But we know the kind of player he is. He's a franchise guy. He changes an organization immediately when you bring a guy like that in. And let's just face it. How old is he?
23.
23 years old. You have the youth. The youth is on his side. Most guys get to this opportunity. They're 30 if they're lucky. So he's got, you know, the offer was what, 15 years?
Yeah.
So everybody knows he's gonna be in a uniform for a long, long time, barring any injury, and that's the same case with any sport. But he believes in himself. Obviously, the majority of baseball believes in what he's capable of. It's an amazing, you know, gamble and risk to take, but he's betting on himself, and somebody's going to pay the kid.
I think it's going to be the Cardinals, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals that are making a trade for him. I know there's a lot of teams have been thrown around, but in my experience, it's just like the Cardinals have just this unbelievable ability to A, stack depth in the minor leagues, and then B, go out and make these
and then bring the right guy in. They're a very, very smart organization
for
forever.
as long as you and I have been alive.
Forever, and that's just, man, that's a huge headache for the NL Central. That's a tough day for the Central. It's a tough day for really any division. I mean, you plug him in just about anywhere, and it seems to add 20 wins to your team, like right there. And that's one reason, like the Tatis thing bothered me so much, is how many wins he's potentially cost them. I mean, he's such a good player. And he didn't want to get hurt. Nobody wanted to see him get hurt. But man, just imagine if he was there all year for him.
So now going back on the West Coast then,
Yeah.
if Soto ends up with the Dodgers, they'd have to give up so many, I would say, like the Gavin Luxes of the world and
So what?
some of these.
Give him up.
You would, right?
Oh.
But would they give up would they give up basically their bridge? To me, the Dodgers have a bridge that allows them to go get the Freddie Freemans and the Mookie Betts and pay the money. And
Yeah, but what does that bridge look like when you get a guy like Soto for 15 years? And let's say he's good for, man, if he's really good for half of those years, the contract's worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely worth it. So, yeah, I mean, you have to give up. You're going to have to give up some really nice, young, talented players to get him, or because look, he's gonna fill that spot as long as he's
so
in that uniform.
Good.
He is so good. He is so good.
Sorry, I should take that.
I could see him going to several different teams because it's just a guy that he's a can't. I mean, I don't want to say can't miss guy like he's a draft pick because we know what he is. We know what kind of player he's gonna be. But you got to at least have the conversation. And if you're a GM, or you got to go to the owner and say, hey, is this a possibility to bring in this guy? Especially if you're one player away and maybe a top of the rotation arm, or you have a couple of like young horses that are going to be good for you. You don't know how good, but they're gonna give you innings. They're gonna protect your bullpen. Like there's just so many things that bringing in Soto can do for an organization.
So, personally, like it is a little disappointing that the team, I personally cheer for is in absolutely no way, shape, or form. Like even considering this, and like when the Juan Soto news, when this comes out that Juan Soto is getting traded for, baseball fans across the country, it doesn't matter who your team is, like this is a perfect opportunity to level set and check. Is the team that you identify with, is that club on the right path or the wrong path? And if you're a club where you're like, Juan Soto's available for trade and we have the right capital and this is something where we're talking about, like there's only a handful of teams that are in that position right now. And like that's the divide. That's where you want to be as a baseball fan. Like you want your squad, you want your club to be in a position where it's like you hear something like this drop and you're like,
you want to be involved.
It'd be sick if we could get that guy. Yes.
You want to be involved. And mind you, like the amount of money that signing a guy like Soto is going to make for the organization and what it's going to do to the franchise value. Yes, you want to win a World Series. That's the ultimate goal for everybody. In the front office or a part of any small part of that team or a large part of the team, everybody wants a ring. But, the guys that are crunching the numbers and doing the finances, they want to make money. And you bring in a guy like that, you are going to make a shit ton of money, World Series or not.
Hey, so some cool news, too. Obviously, we're going to have Liam Hendriks, as he said at the top of the show, is going to be jumping off us in a little bit. We were out in L.A. with him. He looked so good. Papi getting into the Hall of Fame. We saw Papi in Los Angeles. He dapped you up like such a pro. He looked good, and I want our audience to know that they can look good because you can choose every detail on a suit, shirt, dinner jacket, and more at affordable prices that may surprise you for fully custom pieces at Indochino. These are very good friends, guys. They're huge supporters of Starting Nine and Barstool Sports. Every suit is made to your exact measurements, and you can customize every detail. You can be looking just as good as Papi and Liam Hendriks. Create a suit that fits you and your style perfectly. The best part, price point starts at just $429 and shirts from $79. That suits start at $429. That's crazy. Indochino also offers completely custom fitted shirts, casual wear, and more. I customize every aspect of my suit, like the button color. Have you guys ever seen the orange button colors I have for Chicago Bears game day? Because I get so excited. And then the lapels, inner lining. I got my monogram, except instead of like the 3 letters, it just says CRL. Just like one like curl, so then that's how people know it's me. I like to wear them for game day. I like to look sharp. Jake, you're always looking good. I heard a rumor that you were going to get an Indochino and take the sleeves off of it just to see if that was like a new fashion piece.
I would do it. Maybe like once it cools down a little bit here, fall starts to show its face in like 6 months. We don't seem to really have a winter here. But yeah, I could do that. We did some Miami themed trips where we were wearing the crazy colors, and Indochino would have been perfect for that, to make a custom sleeveless, jacket with some like suit shorts. It would have been nice. Would have been nice. And man, I'm kind of just letting myself go as far as the body hair. Like I looked down, I was at the beach the other day, and I was just looking at my triceps. And I mean, I have more tricep hair than I do on my head. You probably noticed some of that when we were in LA. Thanks for not saying anything.
No, that's just the type of guy I am.
Yeah.
I would never call out your tricep hair.
It's just truly amazing. Like, why does it grow there?
I'm not trying to downward spiral our trip, man. Last thing
We had so much fun. Cooper had so much fun.
Yeah.
We hung out. We had some nice hangs. We got to know each other a little better. And that's what it's all about. I can't wait to do it again.
Likewise, and when we do get together again, if there's another red carpet in our future,
you won't be bloody.
I absolutely will be fucking glossed out, flossed up, looking like a champ. I got a big day coming up. I'm gonna get the perfect look with Indochino. Get $50 off any purchase of $399 or more, which is basically just one suit because $429 is the price point for the suit. Use promo code STARTING for $50 off any purchase of $399 more at Indochino.com. That's $50 off a purchase of $399 or more at INDOCHINO.com. Promo code STARTING. Okay, Big Papi, I want to talk about this. This deserves. We talked a little bit about it. He just made the Hall of Fame. Obviously, we saw him in LA. We know how good he looks. But like Papi Hall of Fame, you had to pitch against him a couple times when you were coming up the Orioles, right?
I pitched against him quite a bit, and incredibly difficult at bat. I just remember facing, like him and J.D. Drew and Adrian Gonzalez. It's like, holy shit! Like I do not want to face this string of left-handed power. It didn't make it easy on me during my time with the Orioles whatsoever. Just a menacing figure. And when you talk about, I was having a conversation with Cooper and some of our friends and some of the kids, and they always ask me like, who's the greatest like player of all time? And I think the only reason that like Papi isn't like really in that conversation as much is because he DH'd for so long, and that's. It is what it is. One of the best hitters of all time, no doubt about it. Cooper likes Barry Bonds as the greatest player of all time, and that's a difficult conversation. I couldn't disagree. I didn't think it was a bad pick. And some people say, oh well, Barry's on steroids. Like you can't. He's not part of it. But you take that and look. I can't stand guys that did steroids. Really can't. And there's a few guys that are always on my shit list because of that. But when you look at his ability and what he was able to do and how he performed, man, it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think his postseason stuff, the walk-offs, the clutch, it's so hard to value that stuff objectively because you have to get the opportunity in the first place. Like, sure, you can't even compare Ortiz in October to Mike Trout in October. There's so many players that never really got a chance on the big stage. But, like, you can't really compare those two or a player that doesn't have the experience and then say, like, well, Ortiz is that much better. But in the realm of people that have had a chance to compete in October and win championships, I mean, there's an argument where like almost nobody was more clutch than David Ortiz in the history of postseason baseball. The guy's just a machine when it counts.
You're right about that. And what was the year?
It was 13.
Was it 13 where he just in the postseason he hit like 400 or something like that?
Hit 670 in the World Series one year, and it was like over a lot of at bats.
And there's you're right. The conversation is difficult because there are certain guys, really, really great players, and I'm sure there's some Hall of Famers in there that like went their whole career without playing in the postseason or playing any like really meaningful games in October, and that's a shame. It really is a shame. But also, like, you have to understand that not everybody, and even the greatest. I mean, look at Joey Votto. like not all of the great players are going to have those types of opportunities. Unfortunately, it's just the way professional sports are. Whether you're talking on any of the major sports or the sports that aren't necessarily major, not everyone gets a ring. So, like for guys that you see that have those types of opportunities year in year out and produce on those stages, it makes them truly great. It really does.
Now I bring up David Ortiz. We don't do this very much on starting nine, but I'm going to do it now. Do you remember you almost threw a no-hitter against the Red Sox? I'm looking it up now.
Yeah.
He threw 120 pitches at Fenway in 2014.
Yeah, and I remember, Joe Madden. No,
Ricky.
That was what 14. That was Renteria. He's on the phone with like Theo, and they're all panicking and shit, and like, oh, just save it. I'm going back out. Like we don't do what we do and train the way we do and throw as much as we do to not be conditioned for those situations. Like I'm going back out, and I'm gonna try and, especially in Fenway Park, I'm gonna try and get this done. And then I threw a friggin' changeup to was it Jed Lowry or Steven Drew? Like that was stupid. That was really stupid. But again, there's times where they swing through a mistake or they pop it up when it could have been a double off the wall or a ball in the seats or over the monster. So it is what it is. But yeah, that was pretty great.
Shout out Papi, great career, great
and
guy.
how good does he
Need
look?
more
Seriously,
character. Dude.
And there's so many guys that retire that look way better than they did when they played. And that's just, when you're in the big leagues, you're traveling, you're going to team dinners, you're drinking bottles of Camus, like, eating heavy. He looks amazing. He looks younger. I feel like he looks younger now than when he played. And he's a unit. He's got to be, he's my height, right? 6'4", maybe a tick above. And he's just stacked. He's stacked.
And the guy who, I shouldn't be laughing about this, but someone did try to kill him once, and that guy is now dead.
What did you think was going to happen?
It's a pretty cool fact. Not the part that someone tried to assassinate you, but the fact that, like, someone tried to kill, and they're just like, nope.
Well, let's face it. Like, when you're trying to do that kind of shit to somebody as iconic as David Ortiz in a country like that, no disrespect. Like there's some gangsters out there that ain't gonna put up with that shit, and they're gonna come after you. That's the way the world works in a lot of these places. So, I'm assuming he was. Maybe you think he was just like, I'm good. Like no, I'm just gonna like chill on the couch and no one's gonna come looking for me.
Nah, dude, that guy.
He had to have been scared to death.
Oh God.
Well, he was. Yeah, he got him.
Literally. Let's stay in Boston for a second,
Yeah.
and let's stay on the topic of murder scenes. Did you see the Blue Jays absolutely destroyed, murdered brutally the Red Sox over last? The Red Sox have played worse, I think. Someone correct me. The last 5 games is like the biggest run differential against in like the history of baseball. It's the worst 5-game stretch played in like 130 years.
Yeah, it was a massacre.
Do you know, like, when it's that bad, do you just like not take beat? Like when it's that bad, you just can't take BP. Like if I'm on the Red Sox right now, I'm just like, I'm going out to lunch. I'm getting a seafood tower. I might even just not show up to the ballpark for a day and just ghost the team and then and just pretend like nothing happened.
Yeah, because there are times where it's evident that the early work and the extra BP hitting on the field on the road at 1:00, it's not working out, and that's not always the answer. There are times, sure, where a guy needs to dial in his swing and he just needs to see more, see a live arm a little bit more. But no, man, sometimes when you show and go, you go out as a team, you stay out till 4 a.m, you can play better. Like there's no rhyme or reason. But yeah, sometimes the eyewash, the overloaded extra work can tend to go the other way, and it gets you pressing to the point where like, okay, we're terrible. We got to do more. We got to come earlier, and we got to watch more tape and take more swings and throw more bullpens. Not always the case. Not always the case. Everybody at this level is very talented, And more times than not, when teams go through a stretch like this, there's some sort of divide. And I'm not saying this is the case in Boston. There's some sort of divide in the clubhouse, or there's not a vocal leader in the moment. I'm not saying there's not a vocal leader on the team, but that leader hasn't stepped up and said the things that need to be said to kind of light the fire, so to speak. And sometimes that happens. Like there's a lull, and I don't know if it's a good time to say something. No, it is. It's definitely a good time to say something, and that doesn't mean you always got to jump somebody's ass, but it could mean, hey, we're meeting in the lobby at 11:30. We're going to the bar for 2 hours, or you're coming to the suite. Come up to the room. I got 12 buckets of Coronas. Like, we're gonna sit here. We're gonna drink all these. We're gonna enjoy each other's company, and we're going to try and unite, because a lot of times that leads to success, just as putting in the work, the preparation does.
Yeah, I like that. That's the very human side of baseball to me, because everybody struggles, and it's like, what are you trying to do to get out of it? Is it to try hard? Like in all professions, anybody who's listening to this right now, like, it's funny you say like, oh, go watch film or try harder and all that stuff. And like literally in every life experience I can try and relate to, it's like anytime you're trying harder, you're doing significantly worse. Like,
you are. You try and simplify, or I would always try and simplify my game as much as I could once I figured things out. Like from like 2010 to 2013, like I was all over the place, trying all sorts of different shit. But it's like, okay, in order to be successful, I have to have a repeatable delivery to command the ball and to spin the ball the way that I need to. Same thing with hitting. I don't need to have the most complex swing. I need to be able to repeat this, and I need to have a solid approach at the plate that I can revert back to when things aren't going well. I know that my approach is good, and then know what you're looking for. And yes, you can be dialed in as much as anybody, and the guy on the hill is really good, and hitting is near impossible, and they're still going to get you out. But if you're flip-flopping approaches and you're unsure of yourself, and you're going outside of your hitting zone, and you're one hitter, one at bat, and somebody completely different the next at bat, that's not going to lead to any success. And typically, like, the older guys will notice that when younger players are doing shit like that, and they can help them. Hey, pull them aside. Like Kevin Gregg yanked me by my neck and pulled me in the video room one day and helped me analyze swings and helped me learn how to read swings. And Luke Scott did the same thing for me. So, I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of what's going on in Boston, but I promise you it's probably a combination of a couple of those different things. Guys trying too hard, trying to do too much. And like you said, in any line of work, when you do that, it tends to go sideways.
And it's like, you could lose these 5 games by 1,000 runs. You could lose them by 1 run. Their loss
still a loss.
Is a loss.
Still
Just
a
like
loss.
we're sitting here talking about it. The Blue Jays were they fired their fucking – sorry. That's where I get excited.
For it. You're right.
They fired their manager a couple weeks ago, and now people are like laying the Red Sox down on the Blue Jays altar for sacrifice. Like, dude, do you not remember? And Alek Manoah, we got to get to Liam Hendriks. I do want to bring up a second. There's some smaller headlines after this, but we'd be remiss. I'm not coming back to Boston after the Liam Hendriks thing. We'll just stick out here again. Alek Manoah is striking people out and just mother effing them off the field.
Yeah,
like,
he'd be a nice guy to have on the show too. Yeah. He might be, but I doubt he is off the field. He seems like a.
That's what I mean.
Seems like just a chill.
I'm not doing
Sure. No doubt. You got to go there. I mean, look at Scherzer. He's a nutcase, but that's why we love him. Like you see clips of him all the time where he's mouthing like your mind and mother effer, like just repetitive, just over and over and over, and then he just punches your ticket. Like maybe we should get at Manoah on the show and kind of ask him like where that came from. Have you always been like that, or did you learn that sort of like competitive like fire from one of your idols, or where does it come from? Because typically, like, maybe just athletes have chips on their shoulders and they're trying to prove something. Especially, he's a young guy, right? And he's I mean, he's a Cy Young contender. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So, and like that's continuing to build who he is as a player. And he's like, damn, like I'm really good. I knew I was good, but I'm really good. And man, once that momentum and that ball starts rolling, man, it's hard to stop, especially when you have the type of stuff that Manoah's got.
So from one passionate pitcher to another. Let's get to the Liam Hendriks interview. Obviously, cool to sit down with the closer. This is a guy who just didn't fall into his success. If you know anything about Liam Hendriks, he's a guy who's had to work to get into a situation. We talk about his path in the career to where now he's in the second half, clearly into the second half of his career, and he's established himself as one of the premier relief pitchers in baseball. Super cool story, super cool guy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to him. I mean, the accent, and I know he probably gets tired of hearing it, but it's just so cool. And isn't it bizarre how we live on the same planet? We're from all different parts of, like, different sections of the world, and we all talk so different. And even within our own country, East Coast to West Coast, Midwest, anywhere in between. You come to the South, like people in Texas have that that twang, that draw. It's just it blows me away. It absolutely does. But yeah, Liam was great, and really appreciative that he was willing to sit down and spend some time with us during a busy couple days at the All-Star game.
Love it. Let's get to it. Guys, here's Liam Hendriks. We're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by All-Star reliever, White Sox closer, Liam Hendriks. Liam, welcome to the show. I broke my wrist riding the scooter.
Which brand? No.
Do you even know?
One of the LA scooters around here.
It wasn't the scooter's fault. I promise you that.
No, because we in 2015 with the Jays, we had a scooter gang. So David Price came in, was traded from the Tigers, and came in and bought everyone's scooters. Just the e-scooters, and then we would take them on the road. So we'd have 9 or 10 of us. And you're in the American League East, so you've got Boston, you got Tampa, you got Baltimore, all these great places to ride scooters. Well, I still remember a guy hitting a pothole and flipping over. Turned out he hit the pothole, flipped into the trapper keepers that were standing outside Boston Stadium. And guy caught him, landed. Guy's like, okay, cool, thanks, yeah, and then walked in. Didn't even stop the sign.
Didn't get hurt.
Didn't get hurt.
That's good.
Didn't offer to stop the sign for him. Nothing.
Now, so was this like the sit down kind of hybrid scooters? Or are you standing up the whole time?
No, it's just standing up.
Standing up. Okay, so like a bird or something like that.
Kevin Pillar had a scooter. Had a speaker on the front of his. We had it accessorized with some cup holders and all this sort of stuff, just to make it a little bit
for the waters.
No, water. It was for my
coffee.
For my coffee.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm glad to hear that you guys do that kind of stuff, and it doesn't surprise me. I always told guys, when you go on the road, you got to get out and experience these cities. You have to do it. I had a folding bike that had like a electronic kit on it, so I just ride everywhere. It went in like a duffel bag. And Toronto, Boston, like I said, AL East, great places to go.
Great places.
You got to get out and go. I mean, New York was tough.
Yeah, New York's a bit of a longer one. But then you just ride the subway for me. I enjoyed that sort of stuff.
That's true. Yeah, and we talk about this, Carl, right? Yeah. Like, guys think that certain cities like Detroit or Cleveland or Baltimore aren't great cities, or Cincinnati. I'm like, you just don't know what to do in those cities.
Yeah, I mean, you go anywhere. We were just in Cleveland last week, and so I was just walking around and took a scooter and just drove across the bridge, and then ended up in some area which was really quaint little place with a bunch of mom and pop coffee shops. And walking around there was fantastic. Yeah.
So do you tell the young guys, like, hey man, don't stay in the hotel room until 1:30. Like, get up and get out.
We're lucky. We got some young guys who actually like being outside.
Yeah.
So that always helps. Like Andrew Vaughn, it's like he's always looking for a place to fish. He's always looking for a place to do something. So he's always out.
So he's looking for a fastball over the middle of the plate too. That guy can hit.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean, we make fun of him a lot just because you need to keep him humble. But
sure,
that guy has I faced him in spring training. Had him perfectly set up for a slider. I'm like, no. Spring training, I know the kid. I'm going to blow his doors off. And he hit an absolute miss to the left.
Yeah.
On a ball that was probably just below his neck. Just absolute tomahawk the crap.
Tomahawk. Tough to stay on top of a fastball like yours at 98, man. That's impressive.
Spring training, so mine usually sucks in spring.
Oh, okay. So low to mid.
Yeah, maybe. The velocity's
Velo's
fine.
good?
Velo's still fine. So that was probably 96-ish, but it's the ride. I had no life to it, so it just kind of thumbs on in there.
Yeah. So you come into spring hot. You've got the velocity finally.
I've been throwing bullpen since November.
100%.
That's the way I grew up playing. I grew up throwing every single day.
Yeah.
And so you don't stop. So for me it was when I realized that I can't make a throwing program myself. I suck. I get hurt that way because I'll take a month or two off, and then all of a sudden I want a long toss day one.
So you just, and I've heard guys do that. I know Scherzer would kind of play catch once or twice a week all throughout the off season. So that's kind of you don't
similar
stop.
Concept. I'll go there the first probably month. I'm just 3 days a week, and then I start getting heavy, and then I start throwing bullpens so I can try and at some point hopefully solve why I suck in April so much.
Wait, has this changed at all from we were just BSing before, and now you're a regular all-star? Right now, you are at the point where you're very dominant, and almost to the point. Hopefully, later we'll get into this. They traded for a first ballot Hall of Fame closer, and you're the closer. So we're at no point where we need to even talk about why you're sitting in a chair. We're doing this stuff, but it wasn't like that, dude. It wasn't at that point. There's several points in your career where this doesn't seem like it would be part of the fairy tale. So I'm curious where. Are you making those changes where you're like, all right, no, I have to go back to throwing year-round, and when I go back to the bullpen, were you trying to be a starting pitcher, trying to be somebody you weren't, and you're like, no, I'm just going back to how I did in Australia?
So coming over, I was that was the way we did it. I was part of the Institute of Sport down there, and that was prelude to the Olympics. So it was always just you throw year-round, you do this, and then when I came over here, I was started for that was 2007. I think my last start was 2014. And at that point, I'm trying to be a starter. I didn't really think too much about the bullpen. At that point, I still thought it was a demotion. And then in 2015, I'm with the Jays, and they were like, hey, look, our rotation's full. We don't have a spot for you. We know you're out of options. Would you consider going to the bullpen? Whatever it takes to get me on this team. And that was one thing. So I was the long guy to start off with. There was two long guys. We had a bit of a battle going on. And he had the seniority. I had better numbers at the point. And then ended up choosing me. The other guy ended up getting DFA'd and stuck around all year. And then the progression got, I started long tossing with Mark Lowe. And when I started long tossing with him, my velocity started rapidly increasing. I
heavy sinker guy, right?
Yeah, he had been really good for a number of years. Everyone remembers him for giving up a homer to David Freese in the World Series when he was in Texas.
Yeah,
and he reminds everybody of that too at times.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
Yeah. You got to make fun of yourself sometimes.
Yeah, without a doubt. And everyone everyone kept calling him Derek. He's like,
smart.
What? You got the right stats, but you got the wrong name.
Yeah.
What are you doing? But, yeah, long tossing with him, and all of a sudden my velo went from maybe sitting 93, 94 in the pen to the end of the year that I was sitting 97, 98.
Now, what do you attribute that to?
To be honest, I think it's just more throwing.
More throwing.
Throwing, whether it be the long toss to really get everything extended out, whether it be throwing a flat ground every single day. My normal routine up until I had my forearm strain earlier this year was long toss every single day from the line to center field fence. Come back in and throw 2 of every pitch with the catcher up, 2 of every pitch with the catcher down, and then tell the catcher to pick out a sign on the other wall, and I try and throw a ball over it.
I love that. Now, do you think that that's something, and that's kind of foreign, but I like that. I think especially overhand throwing. When you throw underhand, you can do whatever the hell you want, right? But once you come up over the shoulder, there's so many moving parts.
Yeah. Well, it helps that I am foreign, so it works.
Yeah. I mean, it's an amazing accent.
Yeah,
it
comes and goes. It's sometimes it's a little thicker right now because my parents are here.
Yeah, okay.
So they rub off on me a little bit, but it's nice. My wife gets annoyed because there's certain words that I say that she just despises.
And is she from here?
She's a dually, American Canadian.
Okay.
What do you think about the dialect on the south side of Chicago? The way those people speak the English language.
It's interesting. I'm all open for different dialects, different accents, because I feel like it shows character. Mm-hmm. It builds character. I mean, I remember I played with a guy who was from the middle of Boston, and he worked so hard to get rid of his Boston accent. And it was just, what are you doing?
Right.
Embrace it. Right. You're a bean eater. Go for it.
Now,
embracing that, we're all, yeah, go ahead.
It's really, I am from the neighborhood that you play for, although I am a Cubs fan. We don't need to tell that story, I know. But
all the hoity-toity Cubs fans.
My old man, I mean, he's the type of guy who sits in the garage and watches you guys play and yells at the TV and drinks his Miller Lite and stuff. And I know firsthand what you mean to White Sox fans and all that stuff. But I'm interested because this is a national audience and stuff. I'm interested if you could explain your bond to White Sox fans because I think you guys really like. There's something special there where like when you speak, people love the message you have, and like you don't. And that's something that's traditional to White Sox fans, especially in my lifetime, going back to the days with like Ozzie, where Ozzie just kind of like says it how it is. The media respects that. The fan base respects that. Like, do you see that? Do you feel that?
I got lucky in the fact that I came over with Lance Lynn. Like, we're at the same time. So
we were just talking about Lance.
Me and Lance are like, Lance is one of my favorite teammates I've ever had in my life. He is absolutely incredible.
So glad to hear you say that.
Oh, he's the best. But like, he's also someone who can rally the troops, but he also screams.
Yeah.
His profanity tends to be a little bit more original than mine. Mine's very like overused and the same stuff.
I was going to ask you about that too.
New stuff. But I think they've really embraced that because of the energy levels. It's something that we're passionate about what we're doing. We're not just going out there and kind of looking very blase out there, and it's something that we want to make sure like that's the same way both of us have always pitched. But the South Side just it reverberates just attitude, and that's something that they can really I think relate to. But also in interviews stuff like that, it's just I try and be as genuine as I possibly can.
It's refreshing for the fans too to see that
something that's genuine, but also not just the same overused kind of cliched lines.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Maybe there's something about you being from Australia where like it's just not in your head to be afraid the way a guy who comes up in the system traditionally, and it's just like, dude, you don't say that. That's not how we do it. That's not how we do it here, because like you'd be afraid, like, well, I don't know these guys, this and that. Like, is there any part of that where you come in here and you're like, yeah, I don't have that experience of?
I always joke around the fact that I can say whatever I want because contract's guaranteed.
That's true. I mean, some guys are afraid of like the backlash.
Yeah,
or being reprimanded by. Or you know, shunned by the media or the front office. It's like, no, just let it fly. Like, if you're not offending anybody, like,
I
just
always
let it
have
fly.
conversations with the media off the record. You just sit around and talk to them.
Yeah,
you sit around and talk to them. And one, if you say something that's a little maybe iffy, they tend to like either code it a little bit more, or they just don't put it in because they're like, hey, look, this guy may have said something that.
Yeah,
borderline something that may get him some backlash. Let's not do that, and then he'll be grateful later.
Sure.
Which is, but
I'm sure you don't mind a little backlash. Like you said before, like this is highly competitive.
Yeah,
we're playing a sport at the highest level, and sometimes we just let you fly.
And look, I don't say anything that I don't actually believe, and that's one thing that I think it really reverberates through everything is the fact that I don't talk about things. I want to know what I'm talking about for the most part. And two, everything I talk about, I'm passionate about. So it's like it's not just me fabricating a story or asking the media to ask me a question. If they ask me a question, I'm going to give you a truthful and honest answer.
Right.
So this week, All-Stars festivities, it's so cool to me because you get the different talents and the skill set. So I'm just curious, like, are there any guys in the bullpen you'll sit closer to, you know, tonight and be like, hey, what do you do with that splitter? Or are you that type of player where you'll be picking your teammates' brains, or is it more just like you guys will be sitting there talking about the ocean and like, you know, kind of?
No, have you seen Class A's cutter? It's 100. If you could teach me that one, I'd be grateful.
Man, I don't think anybody else can throw that.
Clay Holmes could teach me his sinker, I'd be grateful. If Lopez could teach me his sinker, I'd be grateful. If Soto could teach me how to dye my hair blue and be successful, that would be great. Romano and me throw very similar, so I'll be picking his brain a little bit just about the way he goes about it. But I'm really trying to get Ohtani to teach me his splitter.
No,
come on, mate. Just give me a chance.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
will you actually walk up and be like, "Show me the grip"? Or
I've already asked him, like, "Hey, I need you to teach me the shoot, though."
Yeah. Well, that's a pitch. I wish I had started throwing that pitch at a young age.
Well, so I'm pretty sure that's the reason I ended up having a forearm strain because I threw a split finger in practice all year last year.
And never threw in the game?
Never threw in the game. This year I was like, no, you know what? Split finger, it's not a pitch that I'm going to try and get to. Let me try a changeup. And then I got hurt this year, so maybe I'll just go back to the splitter. And
maybe mess with the Gosman grip. You know that?
Yeah, the Vulcan thingy. Oh, yeah.
That might work out.
I've tried so many different variations. The ones that always seem to be successful are always the ones that hurt. Like my blisters on fingers and all that sort of stuff. They're always the one that,
Well, so Devin Williams throws that super high spin rate.
That would break my arm.
Exactly, because he overpronates. I think it's like his wrist and hand mobility. Like certain guys are just.
Jarrell Cotton for the Twins is the same thing. Like very high spin rate changeup, and his is like a left-handed curveball.
Right, and then Gosman's is a low spin rate, but it falls off the table. Now I thought that a changeup had to be high spin to do that, but apparently not. But his play is more almost like a knuckleball.
Yeah, so I've been. I don't know if you've heard Get Into the Blue. It's a guy who just does heat maps and stuff like that.
Exactly,
so
pitching away from slug.
Yeah, so every time I will go and do like any sort of thing, I'm like, hey, what's a good number for this?
Okay.
And then I'll do it on the wrap. So it's like a split finger. It's you want to be around like 1,500
Oh,
RPM.
as far as spin rate.
Yeah, so I'm talking about spin rate, extension, like rotation, all that sort of stuff. Like, hey, what are the better ones at, so I can have a goal of where I want to get to.
Now, so will you intentionally try and get the ball's spin rate at a certain
It mainly
with like the Rapsodo?
It's mainly just a guideline for me. So it's like, okay, if I'm throwing a splitty and I see 2,500, I know that will probably don't have it, or I fiddle around with grips and just I'm not trying to actively change anything in my actual arm action.
Okay.
It's all about
more about grip.
I'll change grips
and hand
around.
position.
Like, so it's all about that. Just trying to figure out which works the best. But in saying that, none of my pitches really have unbelievable metrics by any means. Fastball is 2,300 spin rate. I get good ride because I'm straight over the ball.
So your fastball doesn't have a lot of vertical drop.
Doesn't have very much vertical drop.
It'll stay on the plane.
True. That's what I'm saying. I want it to be as straight as possible.
And that's with a lower, not a super high spin rate.
So that's been right around an average spin rate.
Now, so how the physics of it don't make sense.
I have a high extension.
High extension.
So I'm about 7'2", 7'3" foot at release point.
How tall are you normally?
6'1".
That's
so
amazing.
I get out there a little bit better. So
okay.
I learned that from using my Petite.
Well, and the young kids watching this, it's amazing to see a guy like Liam still tinkering with grips and on the side. Like, never stop doing that. That's why I tell young kids, my grip on my changeup might not work for you, or my fastball. Move the ball around when you're playing catch. Just try different hand positions. Move your wrist a little bit. Don't necessarily mess with your arm angle too much, right? But mess with the grips.
Yeah, you don't want to change the way you throw because that's how people get hurt.
Exactly.
But you can mix around grips and stuff like that. I know so many people that have similar arm actions that all have different slider grips because it's the way their wrist comes out.
Sure.
Like you look at my curve. My curveball has apparently terrible metrics. It's just harder than everybody else's.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the metrics, the spin rate, everything is very, very, very below average. But it's the slugging and ISO and all that sort of stuff against is really, really good. And it may be a path thing, like a trajectory because of that to that.
Yeah.
Or it could have been the fact that I throw more sliders than curveballs. And even though the speed differential isn't as much as I'd like it to be, it's the different movement profiles that are.
Do you think you're deceptive too? Is there deception?
I think I hide it a little bit.
Hide it a little bit?
Yeah, there's been some times where it's like I get very fluid in my motion where everything is exactly the same speed, but I hide the ball. I'm very short arm, so I'm like I got the short arm behind me. But there's been some times where if I ever mess with any sort of timing mechanism, the hitter has no chance. Right. But I am always concerned with if I mess up my timing purposely here and he hits it, that's just going to make me look like an idiot. So I don't do that as much.
Sure.
And then I play with Cueto, who does it, and he's like, all right.
That's a different level.
So speaking of Cueto and the 2022 White Sox, we are you got a tight schedule here, man. You got a game to play tonight. We got time. We got a little bit of time left for like one or two more questions. On my end, I'm like super interested, and you guys seem to be playing your best baseball to close out the first half. It seems like the White Sox have some momentum. That door could be closed, and I'm interested in your perspective on it.
Yeah, we took 5 from 6 over the last 2 in Cleveland and 3 or 4 in Minnesota, which is great because they're both the 2 teams ahead of us. But I think, to be honest, we're getting back to where we should have been, but we got lost in complacency at the start of the year. We got lost in the fact that our team has really good stuff on paper. We should just breeze through this. We're going to be fine, no worries. And then all of a sudden, we didn't put enough work in. And that's on the players. It's not on anybody else. That's just on the players. We didn't put enough work in, and then since then, we're like, okay, we need to go. And then we pressed too hard. And then we overdid it. And then we started making routine errors, and we started making bad pitches, like overextending ourselves. And then now we're getting back to, okay, we're still working hard, but now we're able to relax and just go for it. And that's something that is a lot easier. But it's always easy to play the underdog. It's always easy to play from behind because you got nothing to lose. It's always easy to be backed into a corner. But, we showed some fight. We had some sparks over the course of the year, but we weren't able to catch fire. And I'm really hoping this 4 days here doesn't kind of dull the flames that we had that last couple series. So hopefully we can take it and run with it. And
then I guess this is probably the most important question we had. Jake and I were talking before the show. I mean, as an Australian guy, like, what's up with the ocean?
Oh, I was telling him, man, what's your relationship with the ocean? I'm terrified.
So my high school, I could throw a baseball from the field into the water.
Okay.
So I was.
So you're a surfer or?
Never surfed.
Good. Stay out of the water.
Did sailing as part of my school class because I went to a nice school.
Okay.
But that ended up turning out to be my best friend's one of my best friend's best friends.
Okay.
Different schools, but he was the coach. He was the teacher for the sailing lesson. We hated each other. Lesson 1, lesson 2, and then before the next lesson, we went out together or something like that. We caught each other outside, and we just clicked on that. And then from that on, I was on his boat, and all we did was sail around. And you know when you're on skates and you do the break and you spray ice on people. We did that, but in a boat.
Okay, so
we're just spraying people everywhere.
In a sailboat.
In a sailboat. And there's a little 2-person sailboat.
Okay.
But it was so much fun.
Just random people spraying.
Yeah. But my relationship with the ocean is great because I was surf lifesaving. We all did that. I had my bronze medallion, which means I could be it's probably expired by now, but I could have been a surf lifesaver going out there and doing all that sort of stuff. I love the water. I hate the sand. I don't like sand.
Yeah,
sand gets
I don't
everywhere.
mind sand until you're wet.
Well,
then the sand sucks.
Then also, we've been living in Florida so long. Florida sand sucks. It's way too fine.
Where in Florida?
Fort Myers.
Oh, so you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, so I came up with the twins, so we just stuck around there.
Yeah.
Met the missus in a hospital down there, and we stuck around, and then we, so that's where we're splitting time between there and Arizona right now because of spring training with that.
Sure.
With the White Sox and everything like that, and plus there's way more food to eat in Arizona, which is
that's
right up my
true.
alley.
Yeah.
You look good though.
You look phenomenal.
Yeah,
you look phenomenal.
I'm hungry.
You do. The hair, everything, the package. I saw the watch earlier.
I think
everything
Coffee's
beautiful suede, man.
Yeah, this is this is from Charles Harris. He's my current designer.
Yeah, didn't go unnoticed.
My stylist. He's been great because my style before this was whatever I could find at Lululemon.
Now, is that something that you just being in the big leagues for a long time? You're like, man, I have to step my game up, or was that?
It was
mama,
for my wife.
Okay,
Wife was like, hey, I need to be able to be comfortable seeing you, like standing next to you in public.
Sure, you can't always look like you're going. To
Yeah, you can't always look like that. Like when
can't
you
always
take
look
at some
like
point.
this guy, huh?
Well, not with the wrist then. But we need something going on in there, and it's the same. He's actually the same stylist who does Tim Anderson as well.
Oh,
and we
so-
have very different.
So you know
styles.
he's good.
So
Yeah, I don't
so
wear
clean.
tracksuits as much as Tim.
No, tough for us to pull that kind of thing off.
Yeah, he has the really nice tracksuits, and I was making fun of him yesterday. But the $2 tube socks. So I'm like, you need to get some better socks. Like,
Gotta have better socks.
Gotta have better socks.
If you're gonna have a $3,000-$4,000 outfit,
Yeah, and
spend
I'm the
$40,
more
$50
of
on
the
socks.
type. Hey, give me the fun characters from Star Wars on the Stance socks. I'm in.
Got it.
We're going to stop right there.
Got it.
I got the Stance Darth Vaders in the room. This is Liam Hendricks. This is Starting 9 All-Star Break. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more great interviews like this with a big, handsome hunk of meat like this, man.
Sexy guys. Thanks for being with us, Liam.
I
Appreciate
you
it,
guys.
man.
Having me.
All right, that's Liam Hendricks. And I'll just say off the top, you said introing it. Yeah, 3 different voices. All right. It's funny how, 3 guys, 3 different places. You guys put me in a body bag when it comes to the voice. I don't care, though. Those are 3 good baseball guys sitting around at the All-Star game, just chopping it up, having a good time. Congrats to Liam Hendricks, and thanks again for giving us the morning. Schedule's so packed.
Yeah, and he was there with, I know that his parents were in town. He had his wife, he had his kids, and to walk over there and just be willing to sit with us, it's great, man. And we're always appreciative of that kind of stuff because, I played for a long time, and getting certain guys to do interviews on game days or at events like that, early in the afternoon or whatever, it's tough. So we're always thankful that the guys are willing to do that for us.
We also talked a little bit with him at the end about predictions and stuff, or just kind of getting better for the second half. And it's only appropriate first show since the second half's underway. I just want to do just a quick little standings vibe check here. And there's some tie-in because Julio Rodriguez, I don't know if you saw this, he made $750,000 from the home run derby. His salary for the year is $700,000. I think the Mariners got some steam. The Mariners are in the wild card hunt. The White Sox 48-48, the Guardians 46. You've got the Red Sox 48-48. They're all kind of nipping at the Mariners for the third wild card spot. It's to me, I think the divisions, the broader the wild card gets, the less these divisions. We're all just going to be dialed in second half of September on the way in, last 2 weeks of the season on these. And it's pretty sweet to hear it up front from Liam Hendricks. Like, hey, this shit's on the players right now. Like, he did not.
Yeah. And that,
any BS.
I like that. I like that. And that's a situation that hits every team. Underperforming, not coming together enough. And that's not to point fingers at any individual player, but you've got 25 to 30 or whatever different personalities a wide range of ages, young players, guys in the middle of their career, guys in the back end. You got starting pitchers, you got bullpen guys, you got your everyday players and your bench guys. There's just so much going on there, and sometimes things don't run as smoothly all the time as you would like them to. And when you deal with some adversity and you go through not necessarily a losing streak, but just where you might win a couple and you lose a couple, and you just can't seem to get going. Sometimes you got to look within and try and handle those things internally. And you always look to like some of your veteran players, like a Liam Hendriks, to kind of address that and get it out in the open, and then move forward. And like he said, he's talking about how he hopes that like we don't lose that momentum that we kind of had, like kind of leading into the break. But it could also have been good for those guys. Get away, whether you're in the All-Star game or not. Go on a 3-day vacation, like go to the beach or go to the mountains or do whatever you need to do to clear your head, get away from the game completely for a little bit. And then when you get back together as a team, now it's time to go. We got, 70 or something, 80 games left to go. Let's do everything we can to capitalize and not miss out on this moment. And one thing Showalter always said, which sticks with me to this day, and I think it's great for players who are here, is what are you willing to give up for your teammates? And that doesn't have to be anything, groundbreaking. Maybe it's just a little less time doing this or a little more time doing that, or focusing on a few things a little bit more intently. Spending a little more time, personal time with your teammates, like little shit. But it goes a long way when you get the entire clubhouse to start buying into that kind of stuff. And so, believe it or not, sometimes that sort of stuff leads to wins. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to document what that is. There's not a stat for it. You're not going to find it on Baseball Reference. But I've seen it many, many times, and it happens every year to certain teams where something just happens, something clicks, and that unity starts to grow from the inside out. And the next thing you know, like they rattle off 10 to 12 or 14 to 16, and then they find their way into a wild card or in the playoffs, and the rest is history.
So it's a good transition because I brought up J-Rod. Obviously, the Mariners just got swept by the Astros, but there's no denying that the Mariners have momentum as they get in the second half.
Well, the
Astros are just a wagon. They're only 2 games behind the Yankees in the grand scheme of things, and we've been talking about the Yankees as one of the great teams that we've seen in like decades, or one of the hotter teams, I should say. We'll save the greatness for after the season, but right now, I mean, they're just an absolute wagon. And like, dude, newsflash, the Astros are pummeling teams. And the crazy thing is that to me, the Astros have done it perfectly with the homegrown guys. The guys that they succeed with are guys that they identified long before anybody cared about like at the earliest point of their career, I should say. They're all homegrown dudes, and it's just different the way the Astros do it. Yeah,
I love seeing that, and that's like, if you're in that front office, like it's just pat yourself on the back. Like when you can draft, like that, and you get these guys, your guys, to the big leagues, like it feels a little. Look, you win a ring, it doesn't matter. You don't care who is in the dugout. You don't care who's in the clubhouse, but it's just a little more special. I think that when you're able to do it with guys that came through your system and have only worn the Astros uniform, it just has to be. And there's these organizations that continue to impress, and it's not surprising at all. I don't think anybody's surprised with what the Astros have done, aside from some of the shit in the past couple of years. But you can't deny their ability. You really can't. And God, it's just sad to see what has kind of happened with Anaheim. I mean, the way that they started, and to see where they're at now, and to potentially miss out on the postseason again for guys like Ohtani and Trout. I don't even know what else you say about that.
I got a game note here on the Angels. The Angels just won a game the other night. This is the first time in almost an entire calendar month, longer than 4 weeks, that's for sure. The Angels went almost a month without winning a game started by a pitcher other than Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, it's not a good sign for your starting rotation or anybody over there. I mean, what is, how's Detmer's been after that no-hitter? I mean, he's
not good.
I mean, he's got a 3.8. I'm looking at now. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, he's not some like flame-throwing guy. He's kind of out there changing speeds and doing this and that. He's going to give up some runs. I mean, what about Sandoval? I don't even know.
He's been okay. Sandoval's pitched well as
okay.
their second best pitcher. Yeah, for sure. Sandoval's been okay. I mean, their problem is
they just not scoring runs.
Yeah, they lost 15 or 16 in a row. I mean, their problem is they played the absolute worst stretch in consecutive games. It's not like they spread around their worst stretch where it was like you played 10 games and you throw in a couple duds. Like they just dud after dud after dud. And now you see good on Mike Trout, though, because it just gets announced that Mike Trout will captain the World Baseball Classic. I don't know if he's confirmed that, but that seems like a pretty popular story.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Before I even saw you text me that, my concern is just Trout's overall health and his ability to stay on that. Like I want to see him on the field healthy and play 155 games a year for the next 8-9 years because the game needs it. It's like when I talk about guys like DeGrom or Shohei or Aaron Judge, our best players, man, we need them in the uniform as often as possible because it's just really, really good for the sport. I know that Trout, I don't know, he had like a rib cage injury and he's had a couple things going on. And I know, it might have been a false report. I don't know if he had a calf strain or not, but I do believe that I saw that. If that's the case, that's a difficult injury. I think Josh Donaldson dealt with a calf strain for quite a while. It's not an easy one to get rid of. But, man, I don't know. The Trout health concerns worry me just a little bit. I hope that's not the case. But then for him to captain the Classic team, is that a little scary for Anaheim?
Yeah, because then at some point, Trout might just be looking for these opportunities now where it's like, well, if I'm not going to play in October, is there any sense of that where it's like I might as well give myself a chance to go do something on a bigger stage? Or is there maybe his agent or is there any business side of this where it's like, dude, you just don't get the opportunities other guys do? But then he strikes me as a guy who doesn't really care about that stuff, who would actually just play for America to play for America.
Well, Trout's I would say a little bit more of a reserved guy. He's not in your face. He's not always in the media. He's never in the media for anything bad. Like he's an awesome guy. I was hanging out with Mark DeRosa. He was actually in Seaside with his family. So me, Lack, and D-Row were all hanging out, and he was talking about his son Brooks. His son Brooks is a stud. His son's 12 years old, and they were actually where was Anaheim just a couple days ago? They were playing. Okay, they were in Atlanta. That's where the DeRosas live. He got to hang out with Mike Trout, and Trout couldn't be a nicer guy. He doesn't have to. He's taking pictures and ask for autographs all the time. I mean, he spent time with D-Row's son and just made his day. Like that's Mike Trout. Like everyone knows and loves Mike Trout if you like the game of baseball. And I think that Trout might want to do this thing with the WBC because he realizes what he means to the game. And to see Trout in the USA uniform, it just feels right. So maybe that's it. I don't think there's any pressure from that he feels or from his agent or anything like that. I just think that it's a decision he made strictly because he knows what he means to baseball.
Now, you say that about Mike Trout. I want to bring up another guy who means a lot to baseball or will soon mean a lot to the national baseball audience. Colin, by all means, Danny Vogelbach. Danny Vogelbach coming over to the Mets as a guy who came up with the Cubs. I don't know if you guys had any crossover in spring training.
Yeah, a little bit.
That guy's a legend.
Yeah, he's just such a funny guy. He's one of those guys you want in the clubhouse. He could play too. I mean, he hit the ball a mile. I mean, he's gonna hopefully fill a role for Colin's Mets. And he's gonna bring some energy, and he's gonna have those guys laughing in the clubhouse, and nobody's gonna be disappointed that he's there. I'll tell you that. Vogelbach he's a good man. I wish him well, and he's gonna make them better for sure. Big power bat to come in situations and help you lose one. A home run, that is, not a ball game.
And he struggles. I'll say he's not a guy you will see at all in a Mets uniform against left-handed pitching, at least out of the start. Maybe if he's a guy you pinch hit later, you're in a situation that's like runners on first and third. But like I would trust Buck down the road when you find yourself in a situation where you start Vogelbach and they bring in the lefty reliever. But for now, I'm just gonna give just like a quick cursory glance here. Danny Vogelbach against right-handed pitching is hitting 261 with a 367 OBP, a 528 slugging for basically a 900 OPS. He's very dangerous against right-handed pitching, which for you guys a lot of time. I mean, you get to the playoffs and you get in the right hand, and there's just a thoroughbred on the other side of the mound that's pumping 98, 99, having a guy like Danny Vogelbach, hitting 6th, 7th in your lineup is certainly going to be a nice move.
Yeah,
like said, having a super fat guy is great.
Yeah, he can handle velocity. I mean, look, everybody's susceptible to high-end off-speed and good breaking stuff. There's no question about it. But the guy can do some damage for you. And Colin, like you said, like he's instantly provided that spark. And sometimes those things just, if it happens early enough, it's like shit. Now everyone loves the trade. Everyone buys in, and it just like that momentum continues to build, right? And I think that could be the case, for the Mets bringing in a guy like Vogelbach.
All right, last like baseball segment question here. I don't know if you guys saw this. There were two really kind of stupid pieces of conflict, or I should say kind of funny. I should say funny moments of conflict that came over the weekend. The first off, Nick Castellanos gets booed after he strikes out. Reporter asks him in the clubhouse, "Did you hear yourself get booed?" Mm-hmm. He said, "No, I lost my hearing," and then obviously an argument ensues. The other one, Madison Bumgarner calls Victor Robles a clown. The next day, Victor Robles shows up in the dugout with the clown nose on. Davey Martinez not too happy about that, but kind of funny because Bumgarner's always mad, I feel like.
He's always
just like,
mad.
Fuck you, dude. Between these two, I think the Castellanos one, that was a little serious. He's frustrated. He's playing terribly. Philadelphia's bounced back since a slow start, but he has not himself. And so after you get swept by the Cubs, I imagine that, you're going to get it and take it pretty serious. I should say this 2022 Cubs. And then on the other side, it's just like the Nationals are terrible. If Victor Robles wants to pip a home run in the 8th inning when they're down by 1,000 against another bad team, we're so far into the season. Like, we just have to, at some point, there's a cutoff line where it's like if you're this far below 500 and it's this late in the season, you cannot be complaining about just give it up, dude.
That's the kind of guy Bumgarner is, and he played in San Francisco on so many really, really good teams. And look, Mad Bum doesn't love being in the position he's in. He's not the same guy he used to be. It happens to all of us. But no, that's the kind of shit he's going to get mad about. That just is. He's always been that way. He had that interaction with Muncy. He's had shit like that happen with so many different players. It's just classic Bumgarner. Like that's what you're gonna get.
What percentage of like guys of reporters in the locker room do you think are cool?
I've always had a good relationship with media. I mean, there's some douches out there. There just are. And look, in Philly, when you play there, I played there for 3 years and was decent my first year and not good the rest of my time there. But you just take it in stride. You know what you're going to get. It's professional sports. You can't get sensitive when you're asked difficult questions about your performance if you suck. And, Castellanos, really, really good hitter historically over the course of his career. He's hitting 240 or whatever it is. They expected more, and more than anybody, Phillies fans are going to let you hear it when you're not performing the way that they expect you to perform. And it's, Alec Boehm had an incident like that. Castellanos. I mean, there's been a lot of players that have had it. I don't believe I ever, had an encounter with anybody in the media there that was unsavory. Like, was I asked difficult questions? Sure, but I answered them the best way that I could and said, if I sucked, I told you I sucked. Wasn't going to sugarcoat it because the bright lights were on. Everybody got to see it. So I wasn't going to sit here and try and disguise an outing that looked like shit as something that was decent. So, yeah, you just got to have thick skin, especially if you're going to play in a place like Philly.
You bring up one of my least favorite things about baseball, being in the dugout, going back to college days. Guy gets rocked, comes out, sits on the bench, and made good pitches, man. They just put good swings on it. It's like, God,
no.
Shut up.
Just don't sugarcoat it. It's not probably it wasn't a great pitch if it went over the fence. That's it. That's all you got to say.
Yep.
All you got to say.
What else is up, guys? We get away from baseball for a second. I have something I'd like to volunteer to the group as a trust exercise. I watched the movie Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. If anybody listening to this saw that movie, and it's just a laugh, tear, cry, laugh, more tear, more cry, stop motion. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I don't even know how to explain this movie.
I saw the. It's like one of those weird not animated movies. I saw the preview of it when I was going to see a movie with the kids. I'm like, this can't be real. This just cannot be a real movie. But was it good? Did you like it?
It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and well deserved. Every percentage point more deserving than the last. It is such a good movie. From date night to little kids to you just need to get away. Everybody.
I'm assuming it's got a good message, but it's this shell who's searching for his family that lives with a human family. Is that what it is?
Where it's like the shell searching for its family. The family left when the humans who lived in the house moved out of the house, and then they put it up for, now it's an Airbnb, so people come in and out of the house, and Marcel's sitting there, and this documentary, what's it called if I make a documentary? I'm a documentarist?
I think you produced a documentary.
Okay.
There it is.
A
documentarian.
Yeah, one of those guys moves into the Airbnb. He discovers Marcel, and he's like, hey, can I film you? And a lot of the movie is Marcel learning, like, well, why are you filming me? Why am I interesting? And it's just, honestly, it's one of the most powerful messages.
It sounds like a psilocybin-induced daydream, almost.
Well, maybe I had some psilocybin in me when I watched, so.
Oh, you bad boy.
I'm a little bit of a bad boy. I don't hate a microdose for a movie with a powerful message, as our producer nods.
Well, it's a lot better it's a lot better than some of the shit doctors are giving you out there.
Amen to that. We're gonna have somebody on this off season to talk about stuff like that too.
Sure, a lot of people. If we can get Paul Stamets on, that'd be phenomenal. So write him down. He's a mycologist.
Okay, Paul Stamets.
Got to get him on.
Speaking of Paul, shout out to Paulie Sorvino. Died today. Paulie from Goodfellas, slicing the garlic razor thin in one of the greatest movie scenes of all time. The fellas sitting around just having a nice dinner in the prison. It made me want to get arrested for a felony and go to prison with the boys and just like have a nice Italian dinner. So shout out to him. Big shout out to him. I just got one last thing for you. So we're down at Seaside. We're on the beach. I go buy a couple skimboards because, of course, I did. And I've got bought a new hat. It's like a Tilly hat. I forget the name of it, but it's, a big brim all the way around. I'm wearing it. I start skimboarding. The first day, by the way, was really good. The tide was going out quite a ways. So with the skimboard, you need very shallow water. Day one was good. Day two, I'm like feeling really good about myself, confident. I'm gonna try a few more things. So I get down there, and a couple guys recognized me and said hello, which was cool. And there were a couple umbrellas down from us, and we're kind of over here hanging out doing our thing. And I start to skimboard, and I can't land once. The board keeps going out from under me. I land on my back in like 6 inches of water, and I just look over, and the dude's filming me. I'm like, come on, man. Like, he just wouldn't stop filming me. And like, I'm not going to stop skimboarding. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going until I get this. I didn't stand on my feet once. I did it probably 12 to 15 times on my ass just about every time. Skimboard just cracks right into my left ankle too one of the times. It's like when Adam Sandler stepped on what's his name? The Scuba Steve steps on him. He's like, God damn you, Scuba Steve. So that's like, I was in that mood, and I just keep looking up, and the guy's still filming. So, I mean, check the internet. It's probably out there. I was going to say, I know you've been traveling a lot. I just want to say you look good. I know you're in a cutoff. I know you just don't have time to take care of the body like you want to, but. Yeah,
well, and we're moving in. We're continuing to move stuff into the new house. I I know we're filming tomorrow and the next day, so those two might not be in the new house. But next week, I'm gonna have it all set up. The new house is good to go.
Subscribe to our YouTube. I think there's going to be some behind-the-scenes action coming your way. There's a tremendous red carpet video coming out this week. We've got an interview with Scott Boras that's coming on Thursday. If you enjoyed the Liam Hendriks, and the Scott Boras interview is categorically a can't-miss, must-listen interview.
Yeah.
So subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Help us out.
Yeah, it was good, man. And I think we talked after. It's like with Scott, he's just such a bright guy, and he cares about the game and his players so much. I think that's what some people don't understand is he's just this greedy agent that's just he's ruining the game of baseball, and he's doing the exact opposite. Like, this guy doesn't need to continue to do what he does. He does it because he cares about the game and he cares about his clients. So and you could just sit there and just listen to him talk. Just, hey, Scott, this is kind of a topic we want to discuss. Go for it. And he can just you can sit there and listen to him for hours.
Good shit. I love it. We are going to listen to him for hours. I'm going to listen to this interview over and over again because it's that good. Go again, subscribe to our stuff. Thanks again to Liam Hendriks for coming on. Thanks to the White Sox fans who tuned in this week, too, to hear what he had to say. Hopefully you guys have some better luck in the second half. We're going to be back on Thursday morning with another fantastic Good Vibe episode that will start at 9. Until next time.
Good show, boys. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And like Carl said, make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate you joining us.